Welcome to day 13 of the 30 Days of Food for People with IBS. Today, I'm focusing on onions, which is a food that is definitely a big common trigger for people with IBS, but not everybody. And I'm going to share some tips on how you can try eating it in terms of how to improve your digestion of onions. The reason I'm starting to bring in some more classic food triggers is we've spent the last 12 days talking about foods that are generally good for the gut, that are going to be helpful. But I also want to help you to explain a bit about why certain foods are a trigger and what your portions could be, so that even if you know, okay, well, these foods are high FODMAP, these foods may be an issue, maybe you can still have a small amount, and that helps to keep up your gut variety and diversity by just eating a wide range of different foods. So that is why I've picked onions, even though they, for a lot of people, are a big fear food if you've had IBS for a long time. Now, there are some benefits to eating onions. They are quite high in flavonoids, which are anti-inflammatory compounds that support our immune system. And one of them particularly is quercetin. That is also found in red apples. If you listen to my apples episode, there's very protective kind of antioxidant for those atopic conditions. So that's eczema, allergies, asthma, those kind of things where you get a lot of histamine release. Quercetin-rich foods may be helpful to support the immune system in those cases. But also it's a really high prebiotic food. So it really does feed your gut bacteria. But that is one of the reasons why it has such a big impact on digestion. So onions are so high in fructan that there isn't really a good amount that you can have. I would just say if you are very sensitive to onions, you need to avoid them completely. And that includes onion powder. So in foods such as sausages, they might contain seasoning which has onion powder. Like this could still be causing you issues if fructan is your problem. Now, the only way you will know if fructan is your issue is if you remove that whole food group from your diet and then slowly reintroduce them. Onions are one of the foods that need to be tested on their own. So if you've done the low FODMAP diet and you've done the reintroduction, you might know that, for example, if you test mushrooms, that will give you some data about how your body reacts to the FODMAP mannitol group. So that selection of FODMAPs that also includes celery and sauerkraut. But with onions, we can't say, okay, well, you were fine with wheat, therefore you'll be fine with onions. It's different and you need to test them on their own. And this is where it becomes really tricky because onions are a basis of so many good cuisines, start off on Italian, a curry, often in like stir fries, Chinese food. There's so many delicious meals that start with onions as a base. So if you are sensitive to onions, it can be very challenging. Fructan is a chain of fructose molecules. So remember that to digest a food and a carbohydrate, we need to break it down to its smallest molecule so that it's a single type of sugar. And we do that through using digestive enzymes. But fructans can't be well broken down because our body doesn't have a lot of the enzymes to break apart the fructans into smaller series of fructose so that we can absorb it. So this means in the small intestine, fructan goes largely unabsorbed and digested, and it gets to the large intestine. And that is where your large gut bacteria ferment it. They start to create gas bubbles and causes the bloating. So a lot of people, that prebiotic action is really helpful and really healthy because we want to feed the good bacteria. But if you've got an imbalance of bacteria in your large intestine, you may find that the production of hydrogen, methane, carbon dioxide, those gases are adding to a gas load that you've already got, and it can make you feel quite unwell, triggering the gas, the pain, the bloating. That is really common. So a couple of things that I want to talk about is in how you can eat onions if you have IBS. Firstly, it's important to say not everybody with IBS will react to onions, and it is okay to test them and it's okay to retest. Even if you react to them now, you may be okay in the future. But if you are sensitive, the way you can get some of the onion flavor is to add the tops of spring onions, so just the green bit, but where it starts to get white into the bulb, that's where you need to stop. By adding the green element, you can get some flavouring to your meals. If you react to onions as well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will react to garlic. So as I said, that onions need to be tested on their own, garlic does as well. And I do find that some people are fine with garlic, but onions give them real problems, and the opposite way round. So do test them individually. At least you might be able to get some of those flavour profiles. Now, the other way that you may be able to eat onions is to take a digestive enzyme that has a specific enzyme in them. There's something called alpha galactosidase, which is what breaks down the fructan element. So if your body is struggling to break down fructans, and you may find that you're reacting to other things in that category. So we've talked about onions and garlic and also wheat, but it also includes most of the cruciferous vegetables, high quantities of sweet potato, very big portions of sweet corn. There's quite a lot of things in that fructan category that could be a trigger as well. So if you also struggle with those, I would look out for a digestive enzyme that contains, I'll say it again because it's a long word. In fact, I might put it in the show notes. It's called alpha galactosidase. Time of recording this, I know that this alpha galactosidase is present in several different products. So you can get a combination digestive enzyme product that contains other things that break down, for example, lipase in fats, lactose in milk and dairy. It maybe breaks down other carbohydrates. And there are products such as digestive enzyme ultra from Pure Encapsulations, FODzyme, FODmate, they're combination products that will help you with a range of different types of foods. Then there's also specific enzymes that just contain this one. So if you know that all the other FODMAP groups are okay, but this is your big problem, then there's products like Bean Assist by Enzymedica, Intoleran is another one. You might find another product. I'm not promoting any of those. I'm not linked to them. I just know that those products are available. The other last little bit I want to put in is I had not realized this, but when I had a look through the Monash University app at onions, just to double check the portion sizing, I found that there is actually a sweet onion, which you can have 2 tablespoons of per meal. And it's called Vidalia onions. And I looked, and in the UK, they're very difficult to get, but apparently Tesco's have them. If you look for sweet onions, you might be able to tolerate more of those. Now, I haven't ever tried this with a client. This is just based on some research that I did looking at FODMAP. So hopefully there's something in there which gives you a little bit of hope about how you can tackle onions, how you can get the flavour of onions, and even if you do react to them, that maybe you can test again and try again. Join me tomorrow for another 30 days of IBS Foods.